Welcome to the FuturePulse podcast, where we dive into the world of innovation and technology. My name is Melica, and I'm the founder and director of Skilltorch, which is an AI tech recruitment company that operates across the globe. Today, I have with me Oana, who is one of the co-founders at Dexory. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Melica. Lovely to be with you.
Great. Anyway, I would love to find out a bit more about you and your background, and also a bit more about Dexory as well.
Sure. I think, I'm one of the three co-founders of Dexory, and my day-to-day role, apart from being a founder, is pretty much related to driving the commercial and product teams. So I oversee the whole kind of customer acquisition and retention and growth from my team, and also the product roadmap and strategy, and bridging the gap between the two. So pretty much ensuring that whatever we build is exactly what our customers need, what our customers require, and of course, kind of overseeing that development and implementation back to the customer afterwards. At Dexory, I mean, for those of you who don't know much about us, because we are quite a specialized, I think, company, we operate within the supply chain and logistics sector, and specifically, we are a robotics and AI company. So we use autonomous robots to scan and digitize warehouse spaces, and then offer customers like unparalleled amounts of data and insights to be able to drive their warehouses with much more efficiency, be able to maximize their people resources, their space, and obviously oversee and take care of their stock. We are based here in the UK with the majority of the company and our production lines and our design teams, mechanical engineering, everything based just outside of Wallingford, next to Oxford. But we do have customers across all over the world, from North America to South America to APAC, Middle East. So pretty much growing from the UK globally.
Also, and there's quite a few of you that own the company as well, and I think you've worked together for almost a decade. How did that partnership start?
Yeah, so it's three of us, and it's quite interesting because we're quite different in terms of kind of skill set, actually personalities as well. But myself, obviously, kind of having the commercial hat on. My co-founder Andre, who's also our CEO, he's coming from a background of electronics and hardware, mechanical engineering, and then Adrian, who's our CTO, he's got a background in software development and testing and so on. So I think we've known each other for many years, ever since we were in school, but it wasn't until quite a bit after university, after growing into different career paths, that we came together, and they started to develop a small home robot at a time, like a small kind of side projects to their day-to-day jobs. And I started to join from like, okay, who's going to buy this? What is it doing? Why is it doing it? So kind of asking all the go-to-market relevant questions, just kind of naturally due to my instinct and experience. And slowly kind of that became a small team, again, based on the very different skill sets that we had. And with that, over the years, of course, kind of the company that it is today with over 200 people and growing. But I think, going back to those fundamentals is obviously we did know each other. We trusted each other a lot. We still do. And we all still complement each other quite well in terms of the areas we cover in the company.
Brilliant. And then you spent some time also at a bigger company as well, didn't you, before you built this business?
Yeah, I mean, I started at Telefonica initially, so I was in O2 for a few years, and then from there I moved over to Google. And at Google, I was kind of close to 7 years, doing kind of different roles across the company, growing and learning quite a lot. So yeah, I did spend my time in big tech as well.
Great. And then how's that? So obviously, there's three of you, you've got different personalities and you've got different specialisms, and that's probably no surprise as to how your business has grown to the way it has today. But how has that kind of different personality, different traits, and also your experience in corporates shaped the type of company that Dexory is and the culture that you are looking to create in the business?
Yeah, I mean, I think my experience at Google in particular was quite fundamental in terms of shaping the culture that we have at Dexory, but then also so our CEO's experience in Formula One. So
All
while I was
right.
kind of doing Google and big tech, he was working in Formula One, so motorsports and high end and high precision engineering, and obviously kind of that continuous drive to win and to kind of break all the records. So I think there's a lot of that transpires into our day to day. There's a whole element around speed and urgency and ambition that we all have, while still kind of building that camaraderie and the support for each other to be able to grow and expand together. So I think it's an interesting approach around always kind of drive with ambition, and that automatically brings together people that are very kind of similar in their thinking and that want to revolutionize their sector, really kind of push themselves and learn more as they're growing.
Amazing. And obviously, you're a female founder, which I love. I think you, I'm sure, an absolute inspiration to people like myself and also others in the either in the robotics or supply chain, even the recruitment field as well. How has that kind of shaped you or shaped the company to the way it is today because of that?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I think when we started, and even when I was working at the bigger tech companies, obviously being a woman in tech was something that a lot of people would refer to and kind of pick up. And I've always kind of been a little bit annoyed and shying away from it because yeah, people don't want to necessarily be recognized by their gender, but more kind of focusing on their achievements and what they've managed to do, right? So I think over time that has shifted quite a bit in my mindset because and I'll kind of fully embrace my role as a female founder. I talk about it a lot. I try and kind of share my experience with others because I found that it does really inspire and help others understand that it is
Uh,
possible. So taking it back to Dexory, what this kind of allowed is actually for us to have a very, very diverse team, both the leadership level and kind of as we go through the different parts of the business. I can see that we're continuously kind of attracting diverse talents. It's not just kind of female versus males, but also kind of other different types of kind of talent that really kind of help shape us having a very inclusive and very, I think, varied ways of thinking across the team, which really helps push us forward. So yeah, it's an interesting point because I think yeah, initially I was pretty much not focusing on it too much, thinking that there's a lot of things that we need to prove as a business with our product, with the market, with the revenue, but then slowly kind of realized as I was kind of going and doing the rounds in their normal kind of conferences that it does help a lot also to shape our team.
And it sounds like you've been quite, I wouldn't say, I don't know if I should say the word fortunate, but obviously you've not let it bother you. And I think because of that attitude, you've kind of pushed along and you've got to where you are. But have you ever come across like, have you ever had some sort of, I don't know how to say, whether it's discrimination or anything like that, but
Yeah.
do you ever have been in the scenario where there has been a difference because of that? And how have you kind of like pushed that forward or even inspired your team to kind of like push out of the norms around that?
Yeah, it's a great point, and I think I have been quite fortunate not to necessarily kind of be affected by it too much, and I am kind of in the intersection of three fields that are quite tricky when it comes to diversity. So robotics on the one hand, obviously kind of the tech environment altogether, both on the investor side and the startup side, and then thirdly kind of logistics and supply chain, which is actually now becoming a lot more diverse, which is fantastic to see in the market with our customers. But despite all that, like I think, yeah, I didn't really have many incidents across kind of my career where that became an issue. The only one thing that I think kind of still sticks with me. Many years ago, I was kind of representing Dexory. Well, at the time we were called Bots and DAS, I had a different brand, at a startup pitching competition. We were somewhere in Spain actually, but there were companies from across Europe. And as I was going in to do my pitch to the judges, obviously kind of rehearsing and preparing for days. Yeah, there was somebody else from another robotics company and as part of the same pitch that was just hovering by the door and kind of told me, oh, you just have to flick your eyelashes at them and they'll let you pass through. And I
Goodness.
still remember like boiling with rage as I went into that pitch, first of all because it's just as I was going in, and then obviously like the worst time possible to
Yeah, you've already
mention
got your
it.
nerves. You're already nervous as it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then secondly, obviously, because I was like, excuse me. So obviously, interestingly enough, yeah, we were part of the three that did kind of move forward and win the competition. And that person, like, yeah, their company didn't win, didn't go forward. So I just kind of remember I should have said something. I should have kind of reacted in the moment because, yeah, it just was so unfair and a completely random comment. But just because it happened as I was entering the pretty much the pitching room, was a bit frozen and yeah, didn't react in time. But yeah, I think if that would happen right now, I'd have a very different response for the
Yeah, it
person.
would. And I think the industry has changed as a
Yeah.
whole. And it continue does, right? Like, don't get me wrong, there's still challenges out there, but I think especially right now, like companies are doing everything they can to kind of build diverse teams. And I think if they have a leader like yourself who can kind of set a good example, set a good foundation in the business, that's all going to follow through. But anyway, in that scenario, you won anyway. So
Yeah, and I was just kind of yeah reflecting on that afterwards. Like I can't, yeah, that was definitely the first time and probably the only time when I kind of had such a direct response to kind of my role. But to your point around the examples across the team, I mean, we're very fortunate because I mean, it's myself as part of the leadership and also our CEO Kristen. She's obviously also a very strong female leader. We have fantastic leads across marketing, sales, technology, AI that are all kind of female. So it's kind of like you were saying, kind of having those examples and making sure that they have their space to be able to show the power of their work and obviously how they're building their own teams and driving that forward. That's only going to help the entire industry and of course our company to start with.
Yeah, no, exactly. And just a question about artificial intelligence, because like everyone always likes to, everyone's got different perspective around AI, right? AI in supply chain is going to be different to, I don't know, let's say in agentic AI, whatever it may be. Where do you kind of see things going? I know it's a very broad question, but where do you see it in 3 years' time with relation to kind of how supply chain is evolving right now?
It's an interesting question because it's a big buzzword across
Yeah.
all the conversations that we're having. And versus maybe, I mean, a year ago, it was not non-existent, but it was very, very thin on the line. Even 6 months ago is like when it actually kind of started to become part of board agendas and directives from senior leadership to their teams around we need to implement, we need to embrace AI, but not being very specific around like what does that actually mean? What do we need people to do? So I think across logistics and supply chain, people are still scrambling to understand what's the application they want to start with, what products are out there, like what experts can they bring in house. So there's definitely, I'd say, like a desire to embrace it, but when it comes to practicality, is a very very big gap between what people think AI could do, or maybe don't even think at all because they don't really understand it, to what's available on the market. Where I see this going, and I think it's going to move a lot faster than like a 5 year mark or anything else like that. It's going to really take us by surprise. So probably like another year from now, we're going to see a lot more examples of very practical applications of what AI is, what AI can do. A very simple example, even from our perspective, like we have very clear use cases and features that are coming to market to specifically enhance just processes and operations that our customers understand very, very well, rather than theoretically kind of saying, yes, we will make your business better, but what does better actually mean? And be quite kind of direct into the areas that you can actually bring value to. So moving from just the buzz to actually specifics, and with those specifics, business value will then mean that they're truly going to embrace it because they can understand the power that they can have financially to the businesses.
So they'll kind of, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and he basically had said to me that in maybe a couple of years' time, maybe sooner as you think, we're probably all going to somehow be a product builder. In one aspect of top. So for me, it would actually be like me building something with recruitment, like a subscription based thing. Supply chain can be something different, within customer success or sales. And he was saying, I was thinking, gosh, well, I don't even know anything about product, but that's kind of like his perspective of where he sees it going. So it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, and definitely that's one aspect of it. And the other kind of element is thinking about how it integrates into kind of more, let's say, basic day-to-day hierarchical businesses and also historical businesses and industries that have been around. So I think, yeah, if we all kind of become product builders, somebody has to use those products, right? You kind of go into the other spectrum and understanding how that impacts their day-to-day workflows.
Yeah, exactly. So just going back to the culture and the gender piece again, because I'm really keen on that. So what advice would you sort of give to our audience, and also to younger women who want to sort of enter the supply chain, or even just in general, the tech industry today?
It's I kind of looking back at my own journey as well. At times, I think there's always kind of that perception around like, should I apply for this? Oh, am I good enough for this? I mean, it's a typical conversation that people have around, well, women are like not taking every single box. And men is like, oh, I kind of take one or two boxes, so I'm gonna go for it. So I think that the first step is like just go for it. So just apply, just put your name forward into as many kind of opportunities as possible, because you just never really know like obviously what's gonna come around and how you do that. The second one is just continue to build a strong network and continue to meet people, because that's also a very kind of strong way to get into any one of those businesses, is obviously kind of finding somebody that can open that door for you. But I think that's kind of the main thing that I'm kind of seeing around a lot of my friends or just people in our company and also the wider sector is, yeah, they kind of have that reservation and taking that first step. And it doesn't have to be super polished. It doesn't have to be the perfect CV that you submit. At least getting on people's radar is very important. And I can't even tell you how many emails we get to our kind of generalized let's talk at dexory.com with people that are looking for opportunities that we do actually read and we do kind of bear in mind, and we try and kind of figure out, okay, this is an interesting profile that we may or may not even have a role for at that point in time. But all of those we do keep track of, and we do reach out to people to understand what is it that they're thinking, where do they want to get to. So it's just like keep putting your name out there as the opportunities will start to align.
No, that's really good. At least, yeah, at least you guys are keeping on top of things, despite you guys being
Yeah.
so busy and that there's so much going on. But that's great. That gives it like a good customer service, even just a good candidate experience as well, which I think is really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Culture. And last but not least, what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned about leadership and also building the culture where you are?
Yeah. I think there's so many little things, but I was talking to somebody the other day around how it's interesting that obviously we've just raised our Series C and obviously kind of taken the business to a very different level when it comes to maturity and credibility and everything else. But even at this stage, there's still a big element around the founder gut feeling that is guiding a lot of the decisions and the kind of issues that we're encountering day to day. You would expect that by now, a lot of it should be just purely data driven. You kind of look at the numbers, you kind of make decisions going from one month to the other quarter to another. But there's still an element around that gut feel can still kind of help in a
Yeah,
lot of different situations, whether that's people related or customer related or whatever that is. So I think that's probably the big lesson is like not to lose that. And you can only do that by still being very much in tune with the day to day of the business. Because obviously, of course, the moment you kind of take your foot off the gas and disappear, yeah, it doesn't work. So yeah,
I agree. Anyway, great to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
thank you so much, Malika.
Thank you.